And we're joined now by Cedric Maxwell, analyst on 98.5 The Sports Hub, of course, for Celtics basketball, and with us throughout the whole year now because things just keep changing. Max, just your initial thoughts on what a week, saying goodbye to Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis.
Sad moment, especially when you're talking about veteran guys who won championships. I think it is always painful, but one thing you realize is a business. Red Auerbach said it best, you never fall in love with the product. And Brad Stevens hasn't fallen in love with the product. He's willing to make changes and sacrifices for the betterment of this team. He might have to take a step backwards to go forward.
Well, they save hundreds of millions in luxury taxes in that second apron. We've talked about that. They get a kid, though, in Anthony Simons that a lot of people around here don't know about, Max. Tell us about him. He can help them offensively in placing of Jason Tatum if he stays on that roster, right?
Shooter, guy can knock down a bunch of shots. Learned the game really from Dame Lillard. Was under his tutelage, and we know what kind of scorer he could be. Was very good in Portland, but I still believe that at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that you and I know that are probably going to be coming.
Yeah, I mean, George Niang, I like to see that, Max. He's a local kid, played his high school basketball in Methuen High, so he gets to come back here. He's a veteran. He might be able to help him if he's around, too, but just the story's kind of nice as well.
It's great to have those kind of guys back. I've talked to him quite a few times when he was with Philly, was with Cleveland, with Atlanta. And for him to come back into the fold, be home, I think is a great situation from here for him and his parents. I think they're going to love that. But again, everything is so fluid. I would not, if I am a player with the Boston Celtics right now, I am making sure that, my realtor number is one of the first numbers I have to get in contact with.
Well, and I think everybody understands, Max, what's going on because of this apron. But still, as a guy that is so a part of Celtics history, to see Holiday, Porzingis, maybe Hauser next, guys like that, Tatum, of course, down for possibly the whole year. How tough is that, do you think, within that locker room and within that organization? There's a lot of pride, and there's just coming off a championship 2 seasons ago.
It's more of a family. And we think about a family and lose a family member, that's tough. I was in it, obviously, when I got traded away. The circumstances sometimes are different, but whenever you leave an organization, especially that you grew up with, that you played with, that you won championships, there's a certain bond. Joe Mazzulla, I had the pleasure of talking to some of these guys before the playoffs, in the playoffs. And Joe Mazzulla, one thing I mentioned to him, I said, this is a family. The one thing they can never take away from you is the fact that you won a championship here. I was hoping that we were going to be able to win 2, but didn't do that. So now changes, and they've done it in a swift way. And Brad's done what Brad needed to do to get under those aprons.
And what else would, if the next, shoe drops, it could be Al Horford. Adam Himble's back saying that he's weighing his options. How big of a loss would that be, Max? And then Luke Cornett maybe too.
I'd be sick, actually, if you lost Al, because he's been a cornerstone for this franchise for a long time. To see him win his first championship, to see him, have his kids, his family here, so entrenched in the community. I would hate to see Al go. But also understand that Al might be trying now to get into a situation where he might be trying to win another ring. Obviously, when you get older, you want to preserve yourself. You want to play in a great situation. So we don't know what Al's going to do, but whatever he does, I just wish him the best.
NBA draft, of course, is come and gone. The Celtics go with the kid Hugo Gonzalez, who, when you look at his numbers with Madrid, he didn't play a lot, but they say NBA veterans play there, and there's a lot of those that the kids don't get much time. It looks like the way his game is played, he cuts, Max. He's great on defense. He's a nonstop motor. They say he needs to learn to shoot. How hard is that in the NBA coming into a league as a professional?
I think that learning to shoot, I think defense is the toughest thing to me. If you had tried to defend people, I think that's the toughest. Shooting can be repetition. And what I hear about this kid is he's willing to get in the gym. He's willing to put in the hours. He's willing to commit. Remember we talked about before how Jaylen Brown, when he first got here, that was a problem. Jaylen Brown wasn't a good shooter. But over the years, hours and hours and hours of being in the gym, he learned to be a great shooter. So I see the same thing that could happen to this young kid if he puts in the time.
Well, speaking of Jaylen Brown, how do you look at him coming in off, he should be ready for training camp coming off the surgery, whatever, that he cleaned up a knee. How do you look at him and what he's facing next year as really he's the de facto leader now of this team, and he doesn't know who's going to be playing around him other than Derek White and some others?
Well, there's still question marks. Is trading over yet? You hear all kinds of names, even with him being in the mix. I don't know until the first game of the season who's going to be here. But if you are him and you're a veteran player and you've been an all-NBA player, you've been a finals MVP, you've led this team to a championship, obviously you have to be the leader of this team, on the court, off the court. And what I want from him, if he's going to be that leader, is to be a little bit more vocal and talking to players and talking to people around him, because they're going to need a lot of, there's going to be a lot of hard nights when you think about a team in transition and who's going to be that guy, who's going to be that voice for this team at the end of the day.
All right, Max, let's end it with 5 words, right? That I know you can maybe calm Celtics fans out there a little bit with. In Brad, we trust. How important is that right now with Brad Stevens? Well,
I think Brad has been a guy who's delivered the groceries. I remember Parcell for a while was down there in Patriots Nation. He said, let me buy the groceries. Well, you think of what Brad has done over the years. Since Brad has been the GM, he's brought this team to a championship level. He made a trade that nobody saw in Porzingis, able to get them over the hump, get Drew Holiday. So I still believe what Brad can do. I think he has good people around him. I think the organization is willing to maybe take a step back to go forward. But I think they're still in great hands with Brad Stevens.
That's good to hear. And Max, by the way, you're wearing Syracuse orange, and my Syracuse math shined again. In Brad, we trust is 4 words, not 5. So that's how well I learned.
Only you, Danny. Only you, buddy. Only you.
Max, a pleasure to see you. Enjoy wherever you are, somewhere around the world, and have a great time.
Hey, thank you very much. In New England, it will be okay. The Celtics are a great organization, and they will rise to the top one way or the other.
Love you, Max.
All right, too, buddy.